Hey there, fellow time travelers. Welcome back to the channel. If you've ever wondered what it was like to set out into the unknown with nothing but a compass, a journal, and sheer determination, you're in for a treat today. In this story, we're stepping into the boots of two American explorers whose journey didn't just map rivers and mountains. It helped shape a nation. So grab your favorite drink, settle in, and let's journey together through one of the most daring adventures in U.S. history, the Lewis and Clark expedition of 1804 to 1806. In the early 19th century, the United States was still young, barely 2 decades old and bursting with ambition. President Thomas Jefferson had just pulled off the deal of the century, the Louisiana Purchase. For a mere $15 million, the U.S. doubled its size overnight, acquiring 828,000 square miles of uncharted territory west of the Mississippi River from France. But there was a problem. No one really knew what lay beyond those distant horizons. Jefferson, ever the scientist and dreamer, wanted answers. What rivers flowed through that land? Were there mountains? Could a water route connect the Atlantic to the Pacific? And perhaps most importantly, what peoples lived there? To find out, he turned to his trusted secretary, Meriwether, a sharp, disciplined Army officer with a passion for botany and navigation. Lewis, in turn, chose his old friend, William Clark, a skilled frontiersman and cartographer. Together, they would lead a hand-picked team known as the Corps of Discovery. On May 14, 1804, under gray Missouri skies, the expedition pushed off from Camp Dubois, near present-day Hartford, Illinois. Their vessel, a 55-foot keelboat, and 2 smaller pirogues. On board were 45 men, including soldiers, boatmen, and interpreters. Among them was York, Clark's enslaved African-American companion, a man whose strength, diplomacy, and presence would prove invaluable, though history would too often overlook him. Their mission was clear: travel up the Missouri River, cross the western wilderness, reach the Pacific Ocean, and return with maps, scientific observations, and peaceful relations with native nations. The first leg of the journey took them through lands already somewhat familiar: Missouri, Kansas, Nebraska. But even here, the Corps faced challenges: sweltering heat, biting insects, sudden storms, and treacherous river currents. They documented everything: plants never seen by European eyes, animals like prairie dogs and grizzly bears, and the rhythms of life among tribes like the Osage and the Kanza. By late summer, they reached the villages of the Mandan and Hidatsa, near present-day Bismarck, North Dakota. Here, winter halted their progress. The Corps built Fort Mandan and settled in for the cold months. It was during this time that they met a young Shoshone woman named Sacagawea, who was living among the Hidatsa after being captured years earlier. Pregnant and just 16 or 17 years old, she joined the expedition with her husband, French-Canadian trader Toussaint Charbonneau, who was hired as an interpreter. Sacagawea would become far more than a translator. Her knowledge of edible plants, her calm demeanor in tense situations, and her very presence traveling with a baby on her backs signaled to native tribes that the Corps came in peace. A war party wouldn't bring women and children. When spring arrived in 1805, the Corps pressed westward with renewed vigor. Now equipped with horses and guided by Sacagawea's memory of her homeland, they entered truly unknown territory. The Missouri River grew wilder, splitting into confusing forks. At one critical moment, Sacagawea recognized landmarks from her childhood and confirmed they were on the right path toward the Rocky Mountains. Crossing the Rockies proved brutal. Starving, exhausted, and lost in snow-covered passes, the Corps relied on the kindness of the Shoshone, ironically, Sacagawea's own people, to trade for horses and guidance. Her emotional reunion with her brother, now a Shoshone chief, secured their passage. Beyond the mountains, the landscape transformed. Lush forests replaced arid plains, salmon replaced bison, and the rivers began flowing west, not east. Hope surged. They built canoes and followed the clear water. Then the Snake, then the mighty Columbia River. On November 7, 1805, William Clark wrote in his journal, "Ocean in view. Oh, the joy! They had made it. At the Pacific, they They built Fort Clatsop near present-day Astoria, Oregon, and endured a wet, miserable winter. But they also recorded tidal patterns, studied local flora, and traded respectfully with the Chinook and Clatsop peoples. Every day, they wrote filling notebooks with sketches, measurements, and reflections. Then, in March 1806, they turned homeward. The return journey was faster, but no less eventful. The Corps split into smaller groups to explore more territory. Lewis led a party north to investigate the Marias River, where a violent encounter with Blackfeet warriors marked the expedition's only deadly conflict. Meanwhile, Clark traveled south through present-day Yellowstone, marveling at geysers and hot springs' natural wonders that would later become Yellowstone National Park. Sacagawea guided them through the Bozeman Pass, and by August 1806, the Corps reunited near the confluence of the Yellowstone and Missouri rivers. From there, it was a swift journey downriver. On September 23, 1806, more than 2 years after they'd left, they arrived back in St. Louis. The city erupted in celebration. Many had assumed they were dead. Instead, they returned with astonishing treasures: 178 plant species and 122 animal species previously unknown to science, detailed maps of over 8,000 miles of terrain, and records of interactions with more than 50 Native American tribes. But perhaps their greatest legacy wasn't in data, it was in vision. The Lewis and Clark expedition opened America's imagination to the West. It planted the seed of manifest destiny, for better and worse. While their journey fostered cooperation with many tribes, it also paved the way for waves of settlers, displacement, and conflict in the decades to come. Meriwether Lewis was appointed governor of the Louisiana Territory, but died under mysterious circumstances in 1809. Possibly suicide, possibly murder. William Clark went on to serve as superintendent of Indian Affairs, advocating, though imperfectly, for fair treatment of native peoples. Sacagawea's later life remains shrouded in uncertainty, though many believe she died young. York, despite his crucial contributions, was denied freedom for years afterward, a painful reminder of the contradictions at the heart of American history. Yet their story endures not just as a tale of exploration, but as a human drama of courage, curiosity, and connection across cultures. So the next time you look at a map of the American West, remember, every line, every name carries echoes of paddles slicing through river mist, of campfires under star-dusted skies, and of voices native and settler alike that shaped a continent. Thanks so much for joining me on this journey through time. If you enjoyed this story, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell so you never miss another adventure. And if you have a place or era in U.S. history you'd like us to explore next, drop it in the comments. I read every single one. Until next time, keep wondering, keep exploring, and remember, history isn't just dates and names, it is the heartbeat of who we are. See you soon.